With an update on a potential return to WWE and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Going over the lack of content from Corey Graves for his After the Bell podcast, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reported that After the Bell actually just reached its 200th episode earlier in November with guest John Cena. They had one episode that followed on November 10th, and there have been no new episodes since. We've confirmed that the show has wrapped as of now. We weren't told if this had long been the plan or was the result of personal changes, as Corey Graves recently had a child. Rumors have been going around that AEW will bring Dynamite and Collision to the UK, as president of the company Tony Khan responded to this notion, telling the BBC, "I can promise you that AEW All in London will be the only wrestling show we do in England this year." Revealing that he is back with WWE as a coach for the Performance Center, Lindsay Dorado wrote on X, "Day 2 coaching at the PC, NXT taping tonight, see you there." Explaining why former owner of TNA Dixie Carter was backstage at Monday Night Raw, PW Insider said that Dixie Carter was at the taping visiting courtesy of Bruce Pritchard, who worked for her in TNA for a period of time. It appears that the current head of creative for WWE was not present backstage for Raw last night, with Ringside News writing, according to reports from PW Insider, the show was overseen by Bruce Pritchard in Triple H's stead. While there might be curiosity about why the game wasn't present, sources indicate that he was pulled away for other WWE business and his absence had been anticipated. Speaking of Raw, this was said about how the talent were feeling at the show last night, as WrestleVotes wrote on X, "I'm told everything at Raw was good last night as far as camaraderie backstage throughout the day in Nashville. One source went as far as to say the energy was as high as it's been in years. Things look and sound like we're off to a great start." Following his return at Survivor Series and appearance on Raw, this was said regarding CM Punk showing up on Smackdown this week, with PW Insider noting Punk is not currently scheduled for Smackdown this Friday in Brooklyn, New York. Punk has not been assigned officially to any roster internally. Staying on the topic of the upcoming SmackDown show, Randy Orton's status for the show was mentioned, as Ringside News wrote that the Viper is now being advertised locally for Friday's episode of SmackDown at the Barclays Center in New York on December 1st. Naturally, it is expected he will confront the Bloodline after their past actions. In addition to Orton's return, United States Champion Logan Paul will make his WWE TV return on the show. We will have to wait and see whether the Apex Predator will dismantle the Bloodline once he returns on SmackDown this week. While CM Punk's promo on Raw was seen as short and sweet, this apparently was not the initial plan, as PW Insider said. As far as the promo, we are told that the initial plan was for a longer promo that would have given Punk more time, but timing issues led to Randy Orton versus Dominic Mysterio match to go longer than initially planned, so Punk's time was cut. This is something that regularly happens on live WWE TV, so it was a more abbreviated promo than initially planned. The story is Punk's return back to WWE after nearly a decade, not the last place he wrestled. For those who asked if the line about Punk being here to make money, not friends, was a shot at AEW, it certainly could have been, but no one we spoke to could say that for sure. Following Raw, CM Punk could be seen engaging with fans. as Tammy Lynn Sitch, better known to WWE fans as Sunny, was sentenced to 17 years in prison for DUI manslaughter, among other charges. She apparently upset many in the pro wrestling community during that trial yesterday. As PW Insider noted, we heard from a lot of people within the wrestling world upset about Sitch using the death of Chris Candido as her downfall in her statement to the court before sentencing, feeling there was behavior from her well before Candido's passing that were red flags as to the direction that he was going in personally, as well as noting that there was infidelity there and it wasn't on Candido's part. And that Sitch's own autobiography admits that. I took the comments to mean that when Candido passed, she spiraled out and never regained her footing, which is certainly true. Ringside News added, some also reportedly expressed their skepticism regarding one of the experts testifying on Tammy Lynn Sitch's behalf, who cited pro wrestling and blows to the head as factors influencing her behavior. They found this argument disingenuous, pointing out that Sitch rarely, if ever, wrestled in her career. Most of her appearances were in SMW, where she played a managerial role and a gimmick character, never being presented as a credible wrestler. However, it's worth noting that Sitch did occasionally take bumps during matches in which she was managing. Confirming that he is injured, AEW World Champion MJF wrote on X in a now deleted post, I just got an MRI. I tore my labrum in my left shoulder. I'll be defending my title at World's End, I believe, in AEW. This would be confirmed by Dave Meltzer, who wrote, MJF has a torn labrum. He will work with Samoa Joe on the next pay-per-view, but obviously that's a huge blow. Sticking with MJF, this was said by Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio regarding his future. The swelling is down on his hip, but the pain is not down. He's hurting on the hip. The shoulder is, I guess, the more serious of the two, but this tear is worse than that one, so it's a pretty big tear. But guys work on torn labrums all the time. Ringside News added that it was noted that MJF will still wrestle Samoa Joe at World's End on December 30th. That being said, he may also wrestle in the interim period because that injury is one that wrestlers have worked through in the past. Only time will tell what they end up doing. Giving information on what could be expected from Jade Cargill's run in WWE, PW Insider reported that since Paul Levesque brought up Jade Cargill training at the WWE Performance Center during the post-Survivor Series media conference, we've been asked a lot about her involvement at the PC. Cargill is not usually there every day, but she has been spending 1 to 2 days a week there, and we are told that is the current plan going forward. There's no official date for her to come up to the main roster or even appear regularly on WWE NXT. WWE sees her as a strong talent for the future and are in no rush to get her into her first storylines. For details on QT Marshall recently announcing that he is quitting All Elite Wrestling, it was said that House of Wrestling has learned that following Rhodes' departure from AEW, Marshall's backstage influence began to deteriorate quickly. While still liked by many, others closer to those in power were given a chance to work alongside Khan. At the same time, Marshall had become vocal about his desire to work as an in-ring performer rather than a backstage coach. Due to those reasons, everyone I have spoken with in AEW and WWE since Marshall's announcement last night has not been surprised by his decision. With CM Punk bringing up AJ Lee during his promo on Raw, PW Insider said this regarding her potential return to WWE. Punk mentioned his wife April, aka AJ Lee, during his promo. Right now, there has been no discussion of her coming in. She retired years ago for health reasons and has carved out a successful writing career for herself, but one has to think that a cameo appearance or so down the line wouldn't be out of the question, especially since there are so many talents in the company today who have praised her work as influencing their careers. Addressing his absence from WWE, Karrion Kross posted this video.
Some people lack the depth
calling out Ronda Rousey over her debut in Ring of Honor. Independent pro wrestler Effie said this on his podcast: "When I think of if I respect a wrestler or disrespect or don't enjoy or promote a wrestler, they only have to be three things, okay? The first is a little bit good at wrestling, just a little bit. The second is they have to believe that trans people are valid and respect and honor our trans friends and family. The third is they have to believe that Sandy Hook actually happened. If you cross off 0 out of 3 of those, then you need to leave." But Ronda Rousey is the dumbest B of all time. She is not good at wrestling, she is transphobic, and she questions the reality of whether Sandy Hook happened. And I just said it anyway. Ronda Rousey, you're a big dumb B. I gotta stop talking but it's been on my mind all week. It's like, oh well, you're transphobic and you don't believe Sandy Hook happened, and you're really bad at wrestling. You've never had a good wrestling match, and here we are just like, let's rehire her for another company. WCW Junior is looking great right now. The new WCW, it's fantastic. What a future for professional wrestling we're creating right now. Responding to QT Marshall's public statement of resignation from AEW, Cody Rhodes wrote on X, "Did the work, was essential in making so many memories for fans, and has been so instrumental in helping countless wrestlers. A pro's pro. We almost became friends. I can't wait to see what you do next. An OG and outstanding #2 through his tenure. Congratulations, QT, on the run so far." Revealing what led to QT Marshall leaving AEW, Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio, "I have heard from many people, some of whom did not know that this was happening, and most of whom did, so it was not a secret. Some have known for weeks, some have known for months. People have talked to him, he's expressed his frustrations. There have been things that have happened. QT had a very well-paying job. He was a vice president of creative and talent. He's no longer doing the formats, but he did those for years. I think there's a lot of things that have been said. One thing with QT, and it's a big one, QT wants to be a wrestling star, and it wasn't going to happen in AEW. I know he expressed frustration to a lot of people about that, feeling he's had good matches, but he's not been positioned to be a wrestling star there. Of everyone that I heard from, not one had anything bad to say about QT, and most were sympathetic towards him. A lot of talent tweeted it, but a lot of talent privately very supportive of QT and understanding his position. Criticizing the return to WWE of CM Punk, former writer for the company Vince Russo said on his Legion of Raw podcast, "What I would have done, you've got a guy coming back to WWE after a 10-year hiatus. You gotta go to everybody in the back and let them shoot with how they really feel. That's what you gotta do throughout the entire show, not a stupid graphic. Literally, if I'm writing or producing the show, we're gonna come around and ask what you think about CM Punk being here, and you are 100% gonna shoot about it. That's what I'm doing. I would have done that throughout the entire show. I really felt that was a missed opportunity. Think about Randy Orton, bro. As a shoot, a year and a half, Randy Orton returns, gets the big win at the Survivor Series, but then he's upstaged. CM Punk comes out after that big win. Bro, that's got to be part of the story. Somebody's got to say, bro, nothing's changed about you, man. You picked your spot. I thought Orton should have said it. Rhea said it, but Orton was the one that should have said it. But that's what I mean, bro. They miss such important elements that can really go somewhere." Going over the recent signing of Will Ospreay to AEW, president of the company Tony Khan told BBC West Midlands, "I was very pleased with that. One of the great things we've been able to do with AEW is build a great relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think Will Ospreay's been one of the great New Japan Pro Wrestling stars of this era. With Will Ospreay coming up in free agency, he made it clear that he wanted to get out and have new experiences, but he's had a great time in New Japan. Japan, and he has a great relationship with them. So that's why I thought it would be good to go to New Japan and preemptively try to sign Will with their blessing, trying to keep him in our family so that everything they've built together, all those great moments, will still live on, that the traditions Will Ospreay has built, he can bring to AEW, and he's able to go back to New Japan virtually anytime. We can always work that out anytime he wants to go back. I know that is something he will want to do. He's going to finish out there the right way and then come to AEW full time, and we're so excited he'll be with us at Wembley Stadium on August 25th, 2024 for AEW All In. Asked about CM Punk's promo from Monday Night Raw, Jon Moxley told Liam Crowley, "You don't want to know what I think. I didn't see it. You do not want to know what I think." Moxley then said this about his reputation as the one guy AEW can always seem to count on, saying, "I feel like I thrive in those situations. Scramble to the Jets and get Moxley in the air. Oh, we don't have a main event? You've got to make people care about this and make this a main event in a week. I just pull main events out of my ass when I'm in those situations. I feel more comfortable when I'm the guy with the ball in the fourth quarter. It's hard to not want to grab the ball and take the shot myself." When it comes to details regarding CM Punk's firing from AEW, Sean Ross Sapp reported that recently Fightful revealed that a long-rumored member of the committee, Mega Parek, had actually stepped back from a lot of her duties as chief legal officer by that time and actually had nothing to do with the committee. We've since learned that AEW General Counsel Chris Peck, who assumed many of her responsibilities, was a part of the three-person committee along with an outside attorney. However, there was also one long-respected member of the AEW talent roster that was involved in Bryan Danielson. When asking sources on the AEW roster about his inclusion, one called him an appropriate moral compass who exemplifies objectivity and said that he effectively headed up and was the face of the disciplinary committee. Danielson was said to have spoken to the roster when addressing them about Punk's termination and noted that the decision was a particularly hard one. He cited the positives that CM Punk brought, but said that it was the decision that had to be made. Ringside News added that on November 27th, Danielson tweeted, "My dad always told me the right thing is often the hardest thing to do. It won't always make the most money. It won't always be the most popular, but it's still the right thing." It was reported that was what Danielson said when speaking to talent at the meeting months before. There was no indication provided regarding the decision-making process that transpired within the disciplinary committee. Individuals who were interviewed mentioned that they believed CM Punk was already aware that Danielson was a part of the said committee, given that many of his friends were present in the meeting during which Danielson addressed them. Going over a program that CM Punk will take part in following his return to WWE, it was said that there are plans for Punk to feud with Roman Reigns, Sports Illustrated has learned, but it will not be Punk against Reigns first, as that spot belongs to Rollins. A feud between Rollins and Punk is a massive positive for both men. Punk can still wrestle at a high level, but his work will only be enhanced in the ring with a world-class wrestler like Rollins. While it is not the current favorite, there is plenty of reason to believe Punk Rollins could serve as the main event for the opening night of WrestleMania 40. For Rollins, that would simply not be the case without Punk. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.